Guyana's fertile soil has enormous opportunities for growth. Agriculture already represents a significant proportion of Guyana's domestic production, and rice is one of our major crops the economy thrives on. Welcome to the Science of Rice. I'm Carl Gurusamy. This program features a different aspect of rice cultivation every Tuesday evening and gives you the step-by-step process in which rice is produced in Guyana and all the sciences behind its success. Rice has had a challenging history, but of recent, farmers were introduced to new technologies by the Guyana Rice Development Board, and this led to a drastic change in the rice industry. Production rapidly increased and farmers began to expand more.
My name is Samuel Ledron. I'm presently living at Maibikuri North, Blackbush Pole at 195. I've been in the rice business for over 18 years. You may say, well, I call it a business. Well, why I call it a business? Because it's an investment and a return, because rice takes a lot of money. So you look at an investment and a return. And I find it very interesting and enjoyable doing this because it gave me great enthusement going around, because one of the things I want to congratulate also the extension service who have bring us much technology into the system, because the old way, traditional way which we used to farm was, I would say, is not much workable today, because if you look at it in the sense that it takes more. And the technology that it brought us is that you're spending less and you're having more, because
in the comfort of an environment similar to the one we're sitting here today, provide the framework for farmers to speak openly about matters that are of concern for them. And it also provides the framework for extension officers and research scientists, and we know we have Dr. Mahendra in our presence here. Provide that framework for them to have a good appreciation of the knowledge that farmers have in the science of rice growing.
Before now, the officers or the scientists them in those days say that if you throw fertilizer dry, you're going to lose. You must throw it in water as you go with the atmosphere. And this man is saying us something, not throw them dry. So he's telling us to lose. But something wrong somewhere. There are changes now as time goes on. Remember I said from bull plow to tractor days now. So we accept the change. And I, as a farmer, I always like to take chance. I'm not 10-acre farmer anymore, right? Or I'm on grow. So we just always give a piece. Even if we not get nothing from the piece self, we sacrifice a piece. But we didn't sacrifice it. Instead of sacrificing for not getting nothing, we get plenty more.
We are planting rice now scientifically. We are not doing rice traditionally anymore. And if we are going to go scientifically, we've got to follow the scientists. We've got to go with his advice and his instruction. They have got to be there with us and guide us along. Now, what you've seen in my fields here, it is as a result of hard and serious work. I'm not as young as many of you here, but I do not give up very easily. I'm there in my fields, and Bora perhaps can tell you, almost every day to make sure that all things are going right. And I would want to encourage you to do the same, because if you do that, your results in the end would always be very, very good. Very, very encouraging. So the way forward is by using the scientific methods, using the 6-point plan, and making sure that you apply your inputs, whatever, in the right and proper manner.
Rice is grown on primarily the coastland of Guyana, which consists of mostly clay soils and some amount of mixture of silt and clay. For any crop to grow successfully, the farmer must know what's in his soil. These soils have been cultivated since the mid-1700s, when rice was first introduced from South Carolina. It continued to accommodate the rice crop in 2 growing seasons per year. This would have led to the reduction of the indigenous or original fertility of the soil. That is why a chemical soil analysis is important to determine the fertility level of the farmer's field.
Doing a soil analysis, we basically want to understand what is the level of the different nutrients which are essential for plant growth, understand the level of the pH, the level of the organic matter, organic carbon, and the other nutrients and so on, which is essential in terms of the chemical properties of the soil, which is of optimum condition for healthy plant growth.
The best time to carry out soil sampling is after harvesting, when the soil is undisturbed.
Now what we do, we take 2 samples of the soil. The samples are being taken at 2 different depths, which is 0 to 6 inches and from 6 to 12 inches. So basically the plant roots for rice will grow up to 4 to 6 inches depth. That's why when we do our land preparation, it is not done very deep, just about 4 to 6 inches depth. That's where the root zone also is for the rice plant. So we don't want to take too much of deep sample. So what we do, we take samples from 0 to 6 inches and from 6 to 12 inches. And let's say if our field is about 5 acres plot, we will take random sample throughout the field. A sampling of about 5 to 8 samples would be adequate. And what we do, we take a composite sample of the samples we will be taking. So the first thing we do is to clear the area or the vegetation on the ground. We don't want to have plant matter and organic matter from the top level or the surface of the soil, including in the sampling. So first what we do is to clear a small area on the ground for us to take the sampling. That is to remove all the vegetation. Then by the use of an auger or any other suitable equipment, we dig 6 inches down. Up to there. Okay. So that is 6 inches depth. The auger is made precisely for 6 inches depth. So we remove the auger from the hole, and plastic bags or any suitable container would be labeled 0 to 6 inches. And because this sample was taken from a depth of 6 inches, we will put it into that plastic bag which was marked for 0 to 6 inches. Now what we do, we will repeat this activity to 5 to 8 other spots in the field. And those samples will be placed in the same container or bag which was marked 0 to 6 inches. However, we also have to take the 6 to 12 just to have an understanding of what the soil nutrient status is below the soil root. So in the same spot, he will now dig 6 to 12 inches. And those soil from the 6 to 12 inches will be put into a different plastic bag labeled. Now that we would have done the first sample, we yet to do another 5 to 7 samples more. The whole idea is to have a uniform sampling throughout the entire, because different parts of the field, there are variations in the nutrient status of the soil. So we need to capture a wider area in the sampling. So when we do our composite sample, it is represented.
Sampling are done at different parts of the field and then taken to the lab for further processing.
After field collection of the soil sample, we have to air dry them. Now after air dry, this is what the soil would look like. However, we have this 5 to 8 samples taken at the 0 to 6 inches depth. Now we do not need this amount of soil for the analysis, but we need a representative sample. So here the technician now will divide this sample from a sample of 8, he will now divide this, mix it up thoroughly, and take a composite sample, which will represent the area at which we would have sampled. And then that amount of soil will be ground and sent for analysis.
What they actually do is just to divide this into 4, right? And you can take this portion, opposite portions, right? They will take out this portion here. So they can use another lines. Take out this portion. I will take out this portion. Try to leave that with this one. And we work with this, we leave this. And if we need to break it down further, we do the same thing. Yeah. Right? We just continue to divide and we take opposite sections until we get what exactly we need, the amount that we need. And that's what we use and we place into our soil sample bag here. Right? And of course, the soil sample bag, we will not be using the entire bag. If you can see it, it is marked filled with soil up to this area. Right? Because it's a special bag. In it, there's a piece of plastic material that serves to insulate the bag. That's why they ask you to fill up to there and not any further. Right? And of course, we would fill in our information here, whatever field that the soil will come from. Right? Okay.
At the end of the sampling, we must ensure that we have about 250 grams of soil, because for the various analysis, that amount of soil will be able to do all the different nutrient levels and so on.
The soil sample is then sent overseas for testing. The results and corresponding recommendations are obtained after 1 or 2 weeks.
After the soil has been sampled, processed, and sent for analysis, the reports which return will look like this, which would have the detail as labeled on the sampling bag, the name of the farmer, the location, date it was received for sampling, and the sample date. And the different ratio or different parameters which was measured in terms of the nutrients and the amount available. And these bars here indicate the level in terms of whether they're below critical level, if it's optimum, or if it's above the optimum level. And also added to that, the fertilizer suggestions or recommendation based on the analysis is provided.
Now that the farmer knows what is in his soil, he has a better understanding as to what is required, so he will add the right fertilizer and amount that the crop will need, and hence produce higher yield. It takes commitment and dedication to produce a healthy crop. That is why land preparation is considered an essential part in rice cultivation. There are 2 methods in land preparation: primary and secondary tillage. But before the first method can be executed, the removal of straw or residue disposal is done 2 to 3 days after harvesting. This is simply by burning the waste. This also aids in destroying the inoculums of pests and diseases which pose threats to future crop.
The major importance of land preparation is to control weeds. However, there are other associated benefits, such as conditioning the soil for nutrient release. In the event of applying pre-plant fertilizer, tillage operations aids in incorporating those fertilizers, also incorporation of crop residue, and it aids in leveling, which will hence benefit in crop establishment.
The primary tillage in land preparation is done on dry land. This operation is carried out at intervals. They're the first and second cut or the first and second harrow.
The implements used are the disc plow or the roam plow. And by using those equipment, when the soil is being tilled, it is being partially inverted. However, there's another equipment which use less pressure on a tractor. It works well with moist soil, which is the moldboard, and this will entail the soil to invert fully. So there are difference between using a roam or disc plow as against a moldboard plow.
A new technology is introduced as part of land leveling. This method is called laser land leveling. The best time to do laser land leveling is after 2 to 3 roam is completed during primary tillage. This is so because the finer the soil particles, the better the laser leveler operates. This technology allows a more efficient and accurate land leveling in the rice field. This helps to enhance the growth of the rice crop.
Traditional leveling farm is much more time consuming, cumbersome and very hard and not to precision. By using the traditional method, now farmers are turning to the modern way of leveling using the laser leveler. The GPS system is a global position system that is automatically works with the tractor without using any hydraulic system. So when the tractor moves and the drag bucket moves to a high elevation, it's removed the earth from there, and while driving, it dropped to the lower area. And this is much more precise and much more better leveling, and it's faster and much more efficient.
After the leveler is programmed, the tractor along with the drag bucket travels in a circular motion across the field. The bucket will scoop up the earth from the higher parts of the field and evenly spread it across the lower parts, maintaining one level throughout the field.
The reason for going into a circle is because the drag bucket can hold a certain amount of mud or dirt. So you go in a circle to move it quickly, because if you go into one direction, the drag bucket will full and the tractor would not be able to pull and drop off.
This practice has tremendous benefits for the rice crop.
The most important benefit, you have an even distribution of soil moisture. And also, you have a better germination when you broadcast your seed. And enhance better efficiency use of inputs, fertilizer, chemical, because what happens, you have an even amount of water all over the field. Also, it helps in decrease weed population approximately 40%, because water management is one of the most important things in weed management. And once you have a field that is level, fairly level, and have an even water distribution, you could control weeds significantly. Also, you can increase your yield significantly. You have a better plant stand that the entire field, the plant stand can be evenly distributed. Unlike that when you have an uneven field, where the area is high, you have much more plant per meter square. Where it's low, is a less plant per meter square, which can significantly decrease your yield too. But a level land can increase your yield significantly.
After laser leveling is done, the field is flooded and secondary tillage is carried out.
When we're using the secondary tillage operations, the benefits there are that the implements used, they tend to chop and bury the straw material that is retained from the harvest or residue after burning. So by chopping and burying the residue, it also chops up roots from the previous crop and tend to loosen the soil so that root penetration, movement in the soil, leveling is being facilitated easier.
The last stage in land preparation is leveling. This can be done by using one of two methods. A rake can be used, or a long piece of level wood, which is called a hanger, along with a back blade. These methods help to smooth and level the rice field.
The basic principle here is that these two implements tend to have a smoothing effect and leveling of the field so that all rough patches and so on are being leveled or smoothed out. Land leveling is very important because it aids and helps in many other benefits such as weed control, reduced use of water or irrigation. The fertilizer use efficiency is also enhanced. The major benefit is the establishment of the crop, the uniformity in its establishment, because we don't want the land to be uneven, and when leveling is going on, there are different depths of the field or variation in depths or slopes in the field. You tend to find that the higher spots emerge earlier as against the lower spots. So it means the crop will grow ununiformly, and hence at maturation the ripening period also becomes ununiform, and this will help with one of the worst off effect is that it will help to enhance the pest problem, especially the paddy bug problem. When the rice crop will tend to mature tend to flower completely within 10 to 15 days, and you have unevenness in the uniformity of the establishment, it means that period of flowering will extend. Hence, you're having a longer period for paddy bug infestation and its management. And we know all of this incur higher costs.
After the final stage of land preparation is completed, it is important to remove all floating stubbles from the field, since this will hinder the germination of the paddy seed and attract pests and disease.
During the course of the final land preparation, which is leveling, it is very important to make internal drainage systems within the field, especially if the fields are large and there are variations for slope and leveling. The reason for making the internal drain is for to facilitate easy drainage of the field. Also, the other importance of that is that if the fields are infested with snails, which is a very serious pest at the early establishment period of the rice crop, one of the management practice is to establish small canalets or drains in the field, so that when drainage has been done, most of the water tends to move to the deeper area, and usually the drains are deeper than the level of the field. Hence, this will make the snails move, and we know that snails tend to inhabit mostly the water area or ponded area of water. So once we develop these drains, the snails move from the area where the rice seedling is being established into the drains. So instead of having to treat the entire field for snail control, we can target particularly only the canals or the internal drainage system. Or even hand picking can become possible to remove the snails from the system.
A precise leveled field will contribute to a more favorable environment for the growth of a healthy crop. 2 to 3 days after concluding secondary tillage, sowing can commence. It is important to note as well that the size of the plot is essential in rice cultivation. It has been established that smaller fields yield more because it's easier to manage and maintain. But for any size of field, with effective land preparation, sowing can be done easily with less room for weeds, pests, and diseases, and this will aid in high yields. Thank you for joining us on this edition of The Science of Rice. Join us next Tuesday at 19 hours as we continue to gain knowledge on the technologies behind the rising rice industry in Guyana. I'm Carol Gurusamy. Take care.